opening words today are by E. E. Cummings, a great American poet and the son and grandson of Unitarian ministers. I thank you, God, for most this amazing day, for the leaping greenly spirits of trees and the blue true dream of sky, and for everything which is natural, which is infinite, which is yes. I who have died am alive again today, and this is the Son's birthday. This is the birthday of life and of love and of wings and of the gay, great happening, illimitably earth. How should tasting, touching, hearing, seeing, breathing, any lifted from the know of all nothing being, merely human being, doubt unimaginable you? Now the ears of my ears awake, and now the eyes of my eyes are opened. And now I'd like to call David up to light our chalice. It's by Frank Lloyd Wright, another Unitarian. And Wright said, "The present is the ever-moving shadow that divides yesterday from tomorrow. In that lies hope." Our time for all ages today is called The Beautiful Tiger by the Reverend Christopher Boyce. There once was a beautiful and powerful tiger. One day she was captured by a very mean and cruel man who put her into a cage. The man kept the cage in the jungle just a little ways from his house. Every day he would bring out a bowl of water and some food for the lonely tiger. Sometimes the tiger would see her own reflection in the water and say, "My, I must be a beautiful tiger." And then the man would say, when he heard this, "No, you're not a beautiful tiger. You're very ugly. You're a pitiful creature." Sadly, the tiger would believe the man. Some days after she ate her food, she would walk back and forth in her small cage and feel energy and power moving through her body. And she would say, "My, I must be a powerful tiger." When the man heard her say this, he would lie and tell her, "No, you're weak and puny. You're a pitiful creature." Sadly, the tiger believed the man. Then one day, when the man was nowhere around, a lion happened to walk by the cage. The lion saw the tiger inside and spoke to her. "Beautiful and powerful tiger, what are you doing lying about in that cage?" "Do not make fun of me," replied the tiger. "I know that I am neither beautiful nor powerful." "I'm not making fun of you," said the lion. You are surely the most beautiful and most powerful tiger I have ever seen. I am only surprised to see you lying here when you are clearly strong enough to break out of that cage." "You really think I could break out of there?" said the tiger. "Quite easily, I should think," the lion said. The tiger was not so sure at first. She had been told so many times that she was a weak and pitiful creature. But suddenly, it seemed that she could feel the energy and strength moving through her body. She began to pace back and forth in her cage, and then, almost without a thought, she leapt against the cage door, and it flew open without any resistance. Once outside, the tiger seemed dazed. "That cage didn't even have a lock on it," she said. "I spent so much of my life stuck in there, and the door wasn't even locked." The lion looked at her with soft brown eyes and said, "Those kinds of traps don't need locks, for it is the lies we believe in that keep us in our cages, and it is the truth that sets us free." It is the truth that sets us free. This Easter is so different from those that have come before, at least during our time together. Yet in the history of this congregation, our religious forebears survived many hardships when so much had been at stake. In time, we will prove as steadfast, as spiritually grounded and wise as those generations who persevered before us. We mustn't lose heart, hope, or belief in the principles we hold, or the people we are, or in the values and missions of this congregation. Faith is the route past fear. Sometimes we reason with our fear, and sometimes we walk right over it. I know that this congregation is important to its people, among its membership and many friends. At this time, it is important for us to be careful, to look out for ourselves. It is also important to support the organizations like KUUC that we care about, whose people we look out for as they look out for us. The Easter story includes the sure and certain return of life, and that is the ultimate truth that endures as long as we spin through the cycle of the seasons. Love endures, and love nurtures all things. Now is the time for our offering. Give what you will for the church that means so much to you, the church that meant so much to those who came before you, and the church that will mean so much to people you will never know. That is our promise. So give what you will, for you are a generous people. Our prayer today is actually a blessing called A Prayer for a Drop in the Bucket by Reverend Amy Zucker Morgenstern. Blessed are the droplets, for they shall fill the bucket to overflowing. Blessed are they who know there is a bucket, for they shall be filled with hope. Blessed are they who can see beyond their lifetimes, for they shall walk in faith that their work will not be in vain. Blessed are we when we know we only appear so small because what we are creating is so big. Blessed are we who are part of one another. Blessed are we when we give new life and light to others, for we will live more richly ourselves. Blessed be. And now, let us have a moment's peace. Breathing in and breathing out. Blessed be, and blessed are we. There's a little tune in our teal hymnal, a chant, perhaps, in Latin, called Ubi Caritas. The whole translation for this tune is, where charity and love abound, God is there. Where charity and love abound, God is there. Ubi caritas et amor, ubi caritas Deus ibi est, ubi caritas et amor, ubi caritas Deus ibi est. I don't always get to say this, so I'll say it now. Our gospel reading is from the Gospel of Mark, the original and definitive ending of that gospel, although more was added to it later. When the Sabbath was over, Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, and Salome brought spices so that they might go to anoint Jesus' body. Very early on the first day of the week, just after sunrise, they were on their way to the tomb, and they asked each other, "Who will roll the stone away from the entrance of the tomb?" But when they looked up, they saw that the stone, which was very large, had been rolled away. As they entered the tomb, they saw a young man dressed in a white robe sitting on the right side, and they were alarmed. "Don't be alarmed," he said. You are looking for Jesus, the Nazarene, who was crucified. He has risen. He is not here. See the place where they laid him. But go, tell his disciples and Peter, he is going ahead of you into Galilee. There you will see him, just as he told you." Trembling and bewildered, the women went out and fled from the tomb. They said nothing to anyone because they were afraid. Our Easter message this morning is called Unburdening Easter. Indeed, it seems a strange time to be dealing with Easter, with many of us staying at our homes, proceeding to work or school without traveling anywhere, going to the market while trying to keep our social distance, nodding to others from over our masks. This year, with the ever-moving shadow of the COVID-19 menace, the holiday has taken on a different character. Onward we march, essentials and non-essentials, full of concern for the lives and health of our friends and family, full of dread for our future, our jobs and the tumbling down of the markets, full of fear of the collapsing empire and how it seems rather a house built upon the sand. Can we have faith in the moneyed elite? Can we trust that the current regime will be able to pivot toward addressing the needs of the citizens, all of us human merely beings? Can we believe that they will resist taking advantage of this terrible season to cement power, create further economic and racial disparity, silence critics, ignore those they deem unworthy, and sow more division among the people? Come to think of it, this may be the best time to be dealing with Easter. For in days such as these, we may be able to gain insight to its mystery without glossing over either the facts or the truths of Jesus' ministry. In days like these, we might also have a little more empathy for his forlorn followers falling into fear and trembling, seemingly broken into shards after a week of pure craziness. It was a week full of triumph and tragedy, of standing up and acting out, of looking deeply within and doubting themselves and their faith, while the authorities took their rabbi away to be violated and publicly, if also legally, murdered. I sometimes think of those women, followers of Jesus, trudging up the hill to his sepulchre, carrying all the necessary ointments and cloth to prepare Jesus' body for burial. How difficult it must have been to comprehend the suddenness of his death, to witness his mistreatment and mocking, his being taunted as he hung on a wooden spar and finally gave up the ghost. There must have been little talk on the way to the gravesite, each of them in a state of emotional shutdown, perhaps, focusing on the business they would soon be about, doing what need be done. Perhaps they walked in the way described in the lyrics Robert Hunter wrote in a song called Box of Rain, where he says, "Walk into splintered sunlight, inch your way through dead dreams to another land. Maybe you're tired and broken. Your tongue is twisted with words half spoken and thoughts unclear. Then, as much as they worried at the thought of moving the huge stone blocking the entrance to the gravesite, they arrived to find already it has been set aside. In the tomb is a young man sitting. Was a young man sitting, or so the story goes, some sort of celestial tour guide, it would seem, who explains to them all that has caused the women to gape and shudder. You are looking for Jesus of Nazareth, who is crucified. He is risen. He is not here. See the place where they laid him? But go, tell his disciples and Peter, he is going ahead of you into Galilee. There you will see him, just as he told you. The women soon hurried away, running off, not knowing what to make of this miraculous story and its meaning. Soon enough, the band of disciples and followers would be together again, and they would spread throughout their world, preaching the good news, the message and example of the Nazarene's life. It seems they eventually overcame the confusion they had about their dead teacher. His message of durable, all-conquering love, beyond mere belief and empty ritual. Faith that had a way of breathing new life and truth to those who would lean into it. They struggled with some of it. How his way of healing empowered people, that believing that their faith was hiding under a bushel, and if exposed, could without a doubt restore them to wholeness. How he sought out the outcasts of society, and how his spiritual practices and teachings informed his faith and ministry. I think that this is the best time to deal with Easter, in a time of crisis, as the very first Easter took place in such a time, when a mighty empire continued to exert its power in service of control. It was a time when people were separated into categories of haves and have-nots, conquerors and colonists, collaborators, rebels and slaves, the mighty and the bedeviled. When we unburden Easter of all the accumulated varnish of magical thinking and indulging ourselves with miracles, which you may choose to believe in as fact rather than symbols, we are left with this: an extraordinary rabbi who was intimately involved in the teachings and writings of his tradition, who was deeply spiritual and insightful, a lover of life who was himself fully alive, famously moved to find joy in all the ordinary passages of life, who attended weddings, danced with his followers, greeted them with kisses and loving embraces, a healer whose practice was limited to everyone in need of his ministrations: the lepers, the blind, mothers-in-law, children, tax collectors, people of ill repute, doubters and scoffers, anyone otherwise overlooked and separated out. Jesus most often attributed their healing to their having a well-rooted and saving faith that could remove mountains, never mind the little stuff. A humble mystic who resisted the traps of money, power, and divine protection. A trickster who challenged the authority figures of his tradition by using that tradition shrewdly and well. Jesus worked for justice based in loving kindness, challenge, and action. Easter is the promise of new life when all is barren and death holds on to everything above the root. It is an opportunity to put on our best selves and inhabit them, to grow into them, to build on them. On Easter, it is as much our task to do right by people, to listen deeply to their fears, to support them in their struggle to be free, to earn their daily bread, to provide equitably to all that they might benefit from medical care and education without bankrupting themselves, that we might let them see themselves through our eyes and know that they are sacred, beautiful, strong, and capable, as was the tiger in our story, showing them how to break down the flimsy cages so many of us have been kept in at one time or another in our lives. That we might no longer be held fast in glue traps of lies. We have been told enough so as to believe them. So that we who were dead might live anew today, blessed to be part of each other, striving for each other's good. So let it be, as it should be. And our good words for our leave-taking are these. Good people, take peace away with you. Take love away too. Take with you a commitment to kindness and community. Make hope your philosophy and love your living faith. Remove the stone that shields your heart from pain and rush back into the world amazed by the beauty of life on earth and thankful for another day to serve a world of want and of wonder. Go in peace and with a purpose.